Now that you've completed the first part of your evaluation of the call, it's time to write about it in a little more detail. We're going to have a look at what you need to do to get a merit in your evaluation. If we zoom in here on the criteria for a merit, you can see that it says the assessment shows a realistic awareness of skill levels in moving image production and consistent and appropriate use is made of specialist vocabulary. That word realistic means that you will look at your project critically and decide what you think is both a strength of it but also the areas that could be improved. And this is a chance to be really honest about what you've done, because your learning will come from making mistakes, getting things wrong, but then building on them and improving them later on. So don't be afraid to have got things wrong. The next part is the consistent and appropriate use of specialist vocabulary. This is where you'll draw upon the language and terminology that we've learned so far in media, particularly to do with cinematography. And you'll remember we've talked about movement, angle and distance, and here's where those shot types can be identified. It's also a chance to apply any specialist terminology you may have picked up so far about the editing process too. Next, we need to take a look at the bottom part. Skills development is clearly monitored throughout. Valid conclusions are reached, some of which are drawn from evidence and well reasoned. Much like the top part with the realistic awareness, this is a chance for you to show both the strengths and the areas for improvement, this time making sure that you draw on evidence. So if you're saying that something was a strength, show it, explain why it was a strength, write about what was successful, and if you're aiming for it to be well reasoned, it's worth looking at what could have been improved as well. So you're taking that balanced view of your own work and you're showing critical judgment. So let's take a look at what that might look like. Let's see what that looks like in practice. Here's an example of something I wrote earlier, and let's zoom in, and I'm going to give you a few moments just to read through the evaluation starting now. You'll remember from the previous slide that using specialist terminology is very important. Hopefully you spotted where I've used specialist terminology. I think I would include the word cinematography, close-up, low-angle shot, subject, which is the word we give to the person or object that we're filming. Words such as focus, I would include there as well, director, and even further down we've got editing, pace and final cut. All of these are words and language and terminology that are part of the media course and media and filmmaking in general. I've also tried to include a balance. I felt that my film was successful, but I'm also honest enough about my learning to spot where it could have been improved. For example, right at the end here we've got my finished film was a bit slow, and that's linked to the point I made about good pace. And what I've done there is I've made a comment about the project to create a good pace, and I've given an evidence-based example to show why that was an area for improvement. A similar things happened up here with the low angle shot. I've said I was particularly pleased with it, and I've given a reason why that was, so it's evidence-based. So on the whole, I think I would award myself at least a merit for what I've done here, and next time we'll look at how we might extend that to a distinction.